Hi everyone.
Hello there.
About 2 weeks ago, we had our conversation around a quote by Richard Rohr. Anything that can be controlled is not God. And it was a tightly woven conversation because it touches on our egos, nervousness, and all types of objections that we can throw up and erect or whatever. So, but then I think, and we said, it's something that we have to return to the whole issue of trust.
As opposed to wanting to keep control in order to handle the fear that we feel
Yes,
in situations. So we try to control, and the opposite of that would be to trust.
yes.
Yeah.
And then the question was asked, a very valid question. I would have liked to claim that question, but you asked the question.
Did I?
Yes, a very wise and deep question. How do you get to trust?
Yeah. Especially that type of trust. In
Yes.
circumstances where nothing is necessarily just perfect, um, it might be very difficult circumstances that you feel the urge to control or um, to decide what would be best, and we actually never know what is best because we don't know all the options, we don't know all the possibilities. So, and then to have that type of trust where you can hand a situation over and allow God, the love, to to open this up in ways.
But it comes back to what you said, eh? To a large degree, we deep down, we're afraid that God won't handle this situation as good as we can
Yeah,
handle
and
it.
and according to what I think is best in the
Yes.
situation.
What if God drops the ball?
Yes, yeah,
God, uh, with your permission, let me take over. I know this can be quite daunting, but I'm in control here. So there's that.
yes, that's it. There's that, and
And,
then
and, and maybe even further back, that I'm not that important on God's big screen. So maybe he has forgotten, maybe uh, it's so minute it will slip through the cracks.
yeah. So again, coming back to God image,
Exactly.
and then what do we think God thinks of us, or how seriously does he takes our difficulties. So in Afrikaans version, you ask me whether I think I live with that type of
All right,
trust.
so then
So
you answered it,
and
and
so maybe it's your turn now to tell us. Got you there.
okay, ask the question again.
So do you think that you live according to that trust?
And when I answer, it's not from a position of pompousness or self assuredness or whatever, but from a place that's being fed by by my practice. And that really helps me to tap into the bigger rhythm of things. And I want to go as far as to say, yes, I live from that because gradually over time, I've developed or I've claimed Robert Frost's a quote as my motto. How many things must happen to me before it occurs to me?
So there's a track record.
There's a track record.
Yeah.
There's a track record. If I am to constantly fall back into nervousness, into agitated, panic, or then I'm ignoring what has happened in my life. And not only in big things, but in small things where I'm concerned about something. How am I going to do that? How am I going to structure that so that it turns out well? If I think back of our move here to Tafelkop, there were days when I was so in a panic. How am I going to offload this thing when I get to the other side? And then things open up and announce themselves in ways that I haven't anticipated.
Yeah.
So I am in no position to know everything in advance. It was Wayne Dyer who said, nobody knows enough to be a pessimist.
I love that one. Yeah.
I'm not so much of a clairvoyant to be pessimistic.
Yeah.
And the track record tells me that God has it.
Yeah. But there's a big surrendering in that.
Yes.
In the sense that that we often have this plan for our lives, the things that we would like to have in our lives, or that we actually think is not negotiable.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
often we have to get to places where we find out that actually we don't really need those things, or things turn out differently to what we believe would have been the best. So there's a big surrendering into the provision, the working out in a way that's not necessarily the way that we would have. So there's a surrendering into an openness to whatever.
Yes, but I want to come back to my practice. The practice of centering prayer, the practice of being quiet, the practice of sitting with God, the practice of kenosis, the practice of giving over,
Of floating.
of floating, but not like a cork being taken by something, but giving myself over to a love and a life, an undercurrent, the ground of being that takes me extremely serious.
Yeah.
To such an extent that love and life, that reality which is God, guides me to get to know and discover myself. And when I get to discover myself, I get to know God. This strange paradox. And when that happens, I get into a certain rhythm that becomes a flow, where I don't have to push the river, but where I have to become sensitive to the flow of the river. And that helps me not to come with all these elaborate plans that are often thwarted or
forced in a way.
And then it doesn't work out, and I say, you know what, life is very, very unfair. Really. With my luck, something won't. But I have to get to understand what is my rhythm. What is, you understand?
Yeah.
It's much more a giving over of this responsibility to something outside of me, but it is also a coming home to myself that helps with the trust.
And trusting in the benevolence of that.
Yes.
And I think that's for me, that is the undercurrent, is a trusting in the benevolence of God, in the benevolence of love, even with wars going on and all sorts of really difficult things, which is cause and effect, and all of that, but the love, the reality of that means it well with me.
And
And that for me is a basis that I work from, even though sometimes I don't trust. I'm
yes,
scared.
yes,
I'm worried. I'm all of those things. But there's always that place to go back to, that
yeah,
base camp of. But wait a minute, there's a track record here. There's,
yes,
and that helps tremendously.
yeah. And I want to come back to the fact that there's this constant joyous
Yeah, like
attitude. The strange thing is, tears are never far away in that there's a compassion also for suffering, also for unfairness. It's there's a sensitivity to that.
yes.
So it's not this
Yeah,
happy-go-lucky
everything is
stance.
just
No, no,
always
no, no,
perfect and
no.
rosy and no, life happens.
Yes,
And in all of that, there's benevolence, there's holding, there's a feeling of I can trust the flow, like you say. I
yes,
can trust the flow of the river. I can go along. If I don't know, I can hand it over and float. I can,
yes,
and often we have to get there. We
yeah,
have to actually get to that place where we cannot swim any longer.
yeah, yeah. Rock bottom is a very solid foundation to build on.
Not easily said.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just from our side, thank you so much for all the messages we've received during this time of loss that we've suffered and so on. Um, we've experienced so much love and support, and so thank you very much for that. And we'll talk again next week.
Have a good week, everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye.